Welcome to the deep dive. You're tuning in because, well, you want to get informed and fast. We dive into the deep end of research and pull out the key insights just for you.
That's the plan.
Today, we're tackling Brian Tracy's No Excuses, The Power of Self-Discipline. This came from a listener request, someone wanting to really grasp the core ideas quickly, thoroughly, but without feeling totally swamped.
Yeah, and Tracy's work is interesting because it feels like he's distilled, thousands of books and articles, decades of looking into success, all boiled down.
And it centers on one big question, doesn't it?
It really does. Why are some people more successful than others? That's what drove him.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. What did he find? What's the secret sauce after all that research?
It kept coming back to one thing: self-discipline. He looked across like 2,000 years of philosophy and writing.
Wow.
And that was the constant thread. Basically, it's about resisting the temptation to make excuses, saying no to the easy way out.
Sounds almost simple. But I guess the trick is doing it consistently. And Tracy didn't just theorize about this, right? He lived it.
Oh, absolutely. His own background is, well, proof. He didn't have much formal education initially, worked tough labor jobs, not exactly a privileged start.
Right.
But he consciously decided to build self-discipline, and that's what propelled him. Success in sales, then management. He even got an MBA in his 30s.
In his 30s. That takes discipline.
Definitely. And then he pivoted again, importing Suzuki cars into Canada. Totally different field. It shows the power of that core skill.
Okay, so this isn't some abstract idea. It's practical, learnable, and clearly transformative based on his experience. So our mission today, to unpack how this self-discipline thing works in different parts of life and pull out actionable insights you can actually use.
Exactly. Let's maybe start with the flip side. What happens if you lack self-discipline? Tracy's pretty blunt about it.
I bet. What does he say?
He basically says it's the major cause of failure, frustration, underachievement, even unhappiness. It pulls you towards what he calls the path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance. That sounds familiar. That pull towards taking the easy option. What's the real danger there, according to Tracy?
It becomes a habit. Always choosing comfort now over effort for later, showing up late, leaving early, falling for those get-rich-quick schemes.
Yeah, the quick fix mentality.
Exactly. And related to that is something he calls the expediency factor. It's wanting the fastest, easiest way to get gratification right now, without much thought for the long-term fallout. Doing what's fun and easy instead of what's necessary, even if it's harder.
So it's like this constant internal battle, the hard but right choice versus the easy but less valuable one.
Precisely. And self-discipline is the muscle you build to consistently make the better choice.
And how does that help with feeling overwhelmed? Our listener wanted to avoid that.
Well, think of discipline as a filter. It helps you prioritize. You focus on the necessary high-impact stuff instead of getting swamped by all the easy, low-value distractions that pull for your attention. You choose what matters long-term over what's just convenient now.
Okay, got it. So discipline helps you focus. How does it then actively fuel long-term success?
At its heart, he defines discipline as a form of self-denial. It's about willingly giving up those easy short-term pleasures for much bigger, better rewards down the road.
Delayed gratification, that's the key term, isn't it?
Absolutely central. The ability to wait, to resist the immediate payout for something more significant later.
It's that classic trade-off, a little pain now for a gain later.
Exactly. And he brings up Dr. Edward Banfield's research, a 50-year study, actually.
Wow, 50 years. What did Banfield find?
The single most important attribute for moving up socioeconomically was what he called long-time perspective.
Long-time perspective.
Yeah, basically the habit of thinking far into the future when deciding what to do today. Successful people, Tracy argues, are inherently long-term thinkers.
And that applies everywhere. Work, money, relationships.
All of it. It's about making sure your short-term actions align with where you want to end up long-term.
Yeah.
And that often means sacrifice.
Ah, yes. The S word.
Right. Making those conscious trade-offs, like studying tonight instead of going out, or saving money instead of buying the latest gadget. Tracy's core argument is that this willingness to sacrifice, driven by discipline, is the real difference maker.
That's what separates people in terms of success and happiness, in his view?
That's his central thesis. And the book itself is structured around this. It breaks down 21 specific areas of life where discipline is vital.
21, okay.
Yeah, divided into 3 main parts: personal success, character, and then success in pretty much all areas.
Let's start with that first part then. personal success. What's the core idea when discipline meets personal achievement?
The big insight here is that success is less about what you do or have and more about who you become. He even quotes Aristotle. Yeah, something like, the ultimate end of life is the development of character. So self-discipline is what drives that character development. It leads to genuine self-esteem, self-respect, personal pride.
So it starts from the inside out. You build the inner qualities and the outer success kind of follows. How does he suggest you figure out what personal success even means for you?
He really pushes you to visualize your ideal life, like perfectly imagined. Career, money, health, relationships, everything. Then ask, okay, to get there, what would I need to do more of? And what would I need to do less of?
That forces you to get concrete.
Exactly. He offers a definition too. Success is living life your own way, doing what you enjoy, with people you choose, in situations you desire.
That's a compelling picture. So how does discipline help bridge the gap between that ideal and, well, reality?
He points to a really stark divide in skill development, cites research by Jeffrey Colvin. Apparently, the bottom 80% of people often don't improve much in their jobs after the first year.
Really? They just plateau.
Yeah. It's the top performers who keep consciously working on their skills. And that gap in, productive ability, he says that's a big driver of income inequality.
That's sobering. You either choose to grow or you stagnate.
Pretty much. And he backs this up with findings from The Millionaire Next Door. You know that book?
I've heard of it.
Well, 85% of the millionaires they studied said their success came down to working harder than others. Not necessarily being smarter or better educated, just more disciplined effort.
So it boils down to consistent hard work, fueled by discipline. Tracy also talks about some laws of success, right? What are those about?
He does. There's the law of cause and effect. Basically, if you do what successful people do over and over, you'll likely get similar results. Success isn't magic. It's driven by specific actions.
Makes sense. What else?
Then the law of sowing and reaping. You get out what you put in, your current situation. That's the harvest from your past actions. So if you want a different future, you need to start planting different seeds now.
Okay, taking responsibility for your inputs and the law of correspondence.
That one suggests your outer world, your lifestyle, finances, relationships, mirrors your inner world, your character, and crucially, the price you've been willing to pay for success through discipline and effort.
Price. He uses a cafeteria analogy, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. You have to pay before you eat. Success demands that upfront investment of effort and discipline. You pay the price in full, in advance.
Powerful metaphor. And this ties into lifelong learning, too.
Absolutely. He stresses constantly seeking knowledge, learning from experts. He tells a story about someone who found a new technology just by asking around, saving them years of work. The idea is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Learn from others.
And success isn't a destination, it's an ongoing process,
Yeah,
like fitness.
precisely. It's not something you achieve and then coast. It needs continuous effort, like bathing or brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
He even mentions a salesman who attended his seminar, did well, but then stopped applying the principles.
His income flattened out.
Exactly. It requires continuous application, which leads him to ask you, the listener, some tough questions.
Such as?
Like, what's your ideal financial situation? And what discipline is non-negotiable to achieve it? Why aren't you already as successful as you want to be? And what specific discipline needs to change? What one skill, if you mastered it, would have the biggest positive impact? And which single discipline overall would give you the greatest lift?
Those really make you think. Okay, let's shift to the second part. Self-discipline and character. This feels foundational.
It really is. Tracy argues your character is basically the sum of all your choices. Every time you choose the right thing, especially when it's hard, you strengthen it. Every time you compromise or take the easy way out, you weaken it.
And he lists virtues like courage, compassion, but highlights one above all.
Integrity. That's the bedrock for him.
Integrity. How does he define that in this context?
As living in complete truth, being honest with yourself and with others consistently. He sees it as the value that guarantees all the other values. But living with integrity, that takes serious self-discipline.
Because it means doing the right thing even when no one's watching or when a shortcut looks tempting.
Exactly. Resisting that immediate gain if it compromises your principles. He says every choice you make reveals what you truly value in that moment.
So character isn't about grand pronouncements. It's built in those small, everyday decisions. And this character acts as a buffer against temptation.
Yeah, against temptation, against that path of least resistance, against the expediency factor we talked about. Character developed through disciplined choices and willpower, is your defense. And the payoff is huge.
What kind of payoff?
Internally, it builds that solid self-esteem, self-respect, that deep personal pride. Externally, it earns you trust and respect from others. People want to work with, follow, and help people with strong character. Opportunities open up.
And the opposite is also true. Lack of character closes doors.
Definitely. Lack of trust, inability to build strong relationships, getting stuck. You tend to associate with others of questionable character, too. It becomes a downward spiral.
He also talks about how children learn values. What's the key point for parents?
That kids learn values mostly by watching us, especially parents. Our actions speak way louder than our words. He uses this image of parents writing values on the wet clay of their children's souls.
Wow, that's a heavy responsibility. Modeling the behavior is key.
Crucial. He specifically mentions truthfulness, shares how in his family they made a pact. Tell the truth, and there's no punishment.
Really? How did that work out?
He says it worked incredibly well. Their kids learned to be truthful because it was safe, and that honesty builds self-esteem. He also advises emulating people you admire, identifying their virtues, and practicing them until they become automatic.
Practice makes permanent, right? Even with virtues. He connects integrity to society, too.
Yeah, he mentions Francis Fukuyama's work on high trust versus low trust societies. Basically, societies where integrity is common tend to be more prosperous and free. Trust is like the oil and the engine of commerce and relationships.
Makes sense. And personally, acting with integrity creates an upward spiral.
Right. When your actions align with your highest values, your self-image improves, you feel better about yourself, and your life, both inner and outer, tends to get better. He says returning to your values often resolves problems. There's this feeling of exhilaration when you make a tough but principled choice.
He uses that story of the two wolves inside us, good and evil, doesn't he?
Yes. The one you feed is the one that wins. It connects to the law of concentration. What you dwell on grows. And he links this to negative emotions, too.
How so?
He argues negative emotions often stem from guilt or worthlessness, maybe from past criticism. But the crucial point is all negative emotions rely on blaming someone or something else.
Blame. That's the root.
According to Tracy, yes.
Yeah.
And the antidote, taking total responsibility.
Total responsibility, even for things outside our control.
For your response to everything. Your actions, reactions, how you interpret events. He says the fastest way to kill negative emotions is to say, I am responsible. You can't be angry and take responsibility at the same time. It invokes the law of substitution. Replace the negative thought with the positive, empowering one.
So it shifts you from being a victim to being in control, at least of your inner state.
Exactly. He calls blaming others being a mental child, while taking responsibility is being a mental adult. Applies it to money, too. Take ownership of your income, your bills, your investments. Become an economic adult.
That sounds incredibly empowering, actually. Liberating, almost.
It really is. He points out you can use your intelligence to make excuses or to make progress. The choice is yours. And he wraps up this section with action steps. Commit to 100% responsibility. Analyze past unhappiness for your role. Look at relationship breakdowns the same way. And consciously forgive someone. Powerful stuff.
Definitely. Okay, let's move back to personal success, but focus now on goals and excellence. How does self-discipline drive achievement here?
He kicks off with a statistic that's hard to ignore. Writing down your goals and making plans increases your chance of achieving them by 10 times.
10 times. Like 1,000% just from writing them down.
That's what the research he cites suggests. He explains it like this. Your brain has a success mechanism and a failure mechanism. The failure one, pulling you to the easy path, runs automatically. But the success mechanism, that gets switched on by a clear goal.
So setting a goal actively overrides that default tendency to drift.
Exactly. It gives your subconscious mind a target, turns you from a rudderless ship into one with a destination. He tells a story about a client who attended a seminar, wrote down goals in '94, and by 2006 was a millionaire president of his company. The act of writing was the trigger.
Incredible. It links back to purpose, right? Aristotle again.
Yep, humans are purpose-driven or teleological. Having clear goals makes you feel happier, more in control. Lifelong goal setting is a key discipline. Like a homing pigeon needs a target, we need clear goals.
He has a specific exercise for finding your main goal, mindstorming.
Right. Write your major definite purpose as a question, then brainstorm at least 20 answers. Force yourself past the easy ones. Then pick one answer and act on it immediately. Action sparks more ideas and builds momentum.
Action is key. And this leads into personal excellence.
Yes, developing excellence. through discipline is the most powerful way to actually reach those goals. He warns that without continuous skill development, your value can actually decrease over time as knowledge evolves.
That's scary. Becoming obsolete in your own field?
It is. He brings back the 80-20 rule, the top 1% controlling assets, linking it to that widening gap in productive ability. Average income barely keeps up with inflation, just over broke, he calls it. But the key is, no one is inherently better. It's about learning and applying cause and effect. Learn and do.
So excellence is a decision, a commitment, not just luck.
Absolutely. It's like mental fitness requires lifelong effort to stay in that top 20%. Even people who don't seem naturally brilliant can achieve amazing things through relentless learning. Almost every crucial skill business, sales, making money is learnable. Most wealthy people started poor.
So find the top performers and model them. Fly with the eagles.
That's the idea. Study what they do, how they think, what they read. He tells a story about Bob Barton, who literally copied the top salespeople, how they dressed, their schedule, everything, and quickly joined their ranks.
And these top people are often willing to share.
Often, yes. Read their books, listen to talks, reach out. Find out what the top 20% in your field earn. Aim for that. He suggests the 3% rule.
3% rule.
Invest 3% of your income back into your self-training development. Just like successful companies reinvest profits. He shares a story of a young guy who did this and saw his income jump dramatically year after year.
A direct investment in your own potential. He talks about mastery taking time, too.
Yeah, the 10,000 hours or roughly 7 years concept. His point is, the time will pass anyway, so get started now. But you must decide to aim for the top 20% first. Colvin again. Most people learn their job in year 1, then coast. But coasting only leads downhill.
Average employees do just enough. Excellent ones keep investing in skills.
And the gap between average and excellent is often smaller than you'd think. But if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
No standing still.
Right. He even suggests replacing TV time with learning. Points out how much time the average person watches TV and its negative effects. TV can make you rich if you turn it off and use the time to learn, or poor if you just watch passively.
Wow. Powerful framing. The action steps seem focused on commitment.
Yes. Decide to invest in yourself. Identify key skills and plan improvement. Focus on the one skill with the biggest impact. Set excellence as a goal. Look ahead for needed skills. Choose a role model. Commit to daily learning. All actionable commitments.
That's a solid framework. Okay, next up, self-discipline and courage. This feels critical because fear stops so many people.
Absolutely. Tracy starts with Mark Twain. Courage is not absence of fear. It is control of fear, mastery of fear. It takes immense self-discipline, he says. Quotes Churchill, too, courage as the foremost virtue.
But everyone feels fear, right? It's normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
Even necessary sometimes. The difference isn't feeling fear. It's how you react. The brave person disciplines themselves to act despite the fear. The coward lets fear control them. He mentions that quote about the hero just sticking it out 5 minutes longer.
And fears are learned so they can be unlearned.
That's the empowering part. Through repeated disciplined action, he talks about that I can't reaction we have when scared, the physical stuff, dry mouth, pounding heart, the fight or flight response.
Yeah, that paralyzing feeling. What's the breakthrough?
Developing courage by doing the thing you fear repeatedly until the fear shrinks and fades.
He gives that sales example, the 100-call method.
Right. Make 100 calls without caring about the outcome. Just focus on the number of calls. It desensitizes you to rejection. He even mentioned a sales group that gave a prize for the most rejections in a day.
Huh. That reframes failure completely. And Toastmasters for public speaking.
Same principle. Addresses the fear of public speaking, which, crazily, many fear more than death. They use systematic desensitization. Give short talks weekly. Get positive feedback. Confidence grows. Fear recedes.
And sometimes conquering one fear helps with others.
Yeah, they can be bundled. He tells a story about a woman confronting her bullying boss, just firmly saying, I would appreciate it if you not talk to me like that ever again.
And it worked.
Yep, the boss stopped. It shows the power of facing the fear directly. He quotes Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Moving towards the fear makes it smaller.
Okay. He also offers a specific method for dealing with worry. 4 steps.
Yes, a really practical approach. First, define the worst possible outcome, clearly. Second, identify what you can do to prevent it. Third, resolve to accept the worst if it happens. Mentally prepare. Fourth, begin immediately to improve on the worst. Take action.
So accept the possibility, then act to mitigate it. That takes the worry away.
Exactly. Accepting it removes the emotional charge. Taking action gives you control. He also suggests boosting persistence with positive self-talk. I am unstoppable. I never give up.
And viewing setbacks as tests.
Yeah, the persistence test.
Hmm.
Expect them. They're normal. Take a breath. Keep going. Optimism is key here. That core belief you'll eventually succeed. Control your thinking when things go wrong. No self-pity. No blaming.
There's that responsibility theme again.
Always. Refuse to blame or make excuses. Complaining weakens you. Greet setbacks with, I am responsible, and look for your part.
Powerful. Okay, let's apply this to self-discipline and work. How does it translate day to day?
Well, first, having a reputation for hard, disciplined work. That attracts people who can help you. He contrasts average income growth, like 3%, with the top 20% who might see 10–25% compounded annually.
Big difference. He has that challenging question about pay.
Right. Is there anyone in your company who earns twice as much as you? If yes, it means the company is willing to pay more. Just maybe not for what you're currently contributing. You need to increase your value. Take responsibility for it.
How? By focusing your time better. Calculating your hourly rate.
That's a key tactic. Figure out your rate, annual income divided by roughly 2,000 hours. Then focus only on tasks that pay that rate or higher. Delegate the lower value stuff. Get clear with your boss on your key responsibilities and their priorities.
So you're working on what truly matters. He uses that secret survey idea.
Yeah, that everyone intuitively knows who the hardest workers are. It's obvious. And his formula for success at work is simple, but effective.
What is it?
3 parts. Come in a little earlier, work a little harder, stay a little later.
Sounds like working more.
Strategic. Early time for planning. Work intensely, maybe through lunch. Later time to finish tasks, organize for tomorrow. He argues this significantly boosts productivity compared to just putting in the standard hours. Just doing 9 to 5 gets you average results, average raises.
Exceeding the 40 hours is an investment.
Exactly. An investment in your future. Make it a habit to give more than you take. This naturally leads into leadership too.
How does discipline relate to leadership?
Leaders set the standard. For behavior, quality, organization, time management, even appearance, they often work harder, show more commitment, courage, vision, persistence. They also set the tone for how people are treated with courtesy, consideration.
Walking the talk is crucial.
Essential. Leaders need a clear vision, strong values, ethical principles, and they live them. Leadership often arises naturally from consistently accepting responsibility, focusing on key tasks, upgrading skills, and treating people well. Act like a leader, and eventually the position tends to follow the performance.
Act as if. Okay, let's shift to self-discipline in business, the entrepreneurial world.
Right. First law of economics, scarcity. First law of business, competition. You need intense focus and discipline to get customers to part with their scarce money. You have to constantly compete, good product, competitive price.
And manage the optimism required.
Definitely. Starting a business takes optimism, but discipline keeps you objective, realistic, avoids overconfidence. Thorough homework, creating and updating a business plan, that discipline can be the difference between success and failure.
Peter Drucker's point about assumptions.
Crucial. Errant assumptions lie at the root of every failure. You must test your assumptions. Is the product good enough? Will people buy it at this price? Can we make a profit?
And you need a sales system. Products don't sell themselves.
Nope. You need a process to turn leads into customers. Discipline in figuring out costs accurately and pricing properly is also vital. Think Walmart.
What's the ultimate measure of business success then?
Customer satisfaction. That leads to repeat business, which is way cheaper and easier than finding new customers. Requires discipline in setting high standards everywhere and practicing canny eyes. Continuous and never-ending improvement. Plus, the discipline of long hours, especially early on 59, even 80 hours a week, isn't uncommon for entrepreneurs starting out. Be proactive. Focus on solutions, not problems. Do the most valuable task each hour. Avoid distractions. And think long-term. Success takes years of disciplined effort. No shortcuts.
No shortcuts. That theme keeps going back. Okay, self-discipline in sales. A tough, but potentially high-reward field.
Tracy calls it one of the hardest, but also highest potential professions. Uses the German Autobahn analogy, no speed limits. Your potential is unlimited if you have the ambition and discipline.
And sales are fundamental to business survival.
Absolutely. He says almost every business failure boils down to low sales. Success is driven by high sales. Everything else is secondary. So the core discipline, focus on generating sales every hour of every day.
Whether you're a salesperson or the owner.
Right. He mentions that survey where execs knew sales were vital but only spent 11% of their time on it. Tells his own story of nearly going broke focusing on planning instead of selling.
So when is a salesperson really working?
Only when they are directly interacting ear to ear on the phone or face to face with someone who can and likely will buy soon.
That focuses things. His six-word rule.
Spend more time with better prospects. Simple, powerful. Fear of rejection is the big enemy here, leading to procrastination, avoiding those interactions.
Overcoming that fear is key.
Essential. Maintain confidence and optimism so you just keep calling. Churchill again. Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. More calls, more sales, it's probabilities. Working the numbers.
The minutes principle.
Increase your actual face time or phone time with customers. And your sales often double. You never know which call will be the winner, so cast a wide net.
Focus on the activity, not just the outcome.
Exactly. You can't fully control the sale itself, but you can control your activities. Prospecting, presenting, following up. Do what you can with what you have right where you are. Understand the sales funnel prospects in presentations, closing. Two main jobs. Keep the funnel full and get better at each stage through continuous learning.
Makes sense. Now, self-discipline and money. Lots of people earn well, but still struggle financially. Why?
Lack of self-discipline again. Inability to delay gratification. He traces it back to childhood. Get money, immediately spend it on pleasure, like candy.
That pattern continues into adulthood.
Often, yeah. Money comes in, first thought is immediate enjoyment. Credit cards make it easy to overspend. Emotional spending, too. Buying stuff to feel better temporarily. Creates a false link between buying and happiness.
So the default reaction is spend, not save. What's the disciplined alternative?
Create a financial freedom account. Put extra money there. He believes this activates the law of attraction. Money attracts money emotionally. And a law of accumulation. Big results from small, consistent actions. And compound interest starts working its magic.
It takes money to make money. Saving attracts more.
That's the idea. He says everyone who starts consistently saving is amazed at how quickly things improve financially. The core rule, pay yourself first.
Before paying bills.
Yes. Take a percentage off the top of everything you receive. He notes the recommended rate is higher now, maybe 15–20%.
That sounds impossible for someone in debt.
He addresses that. Says start small, just save 1% of your income, learn to live on the 99%. It's usually manageable. Maybe put $1 a day in a jar, then deposit it monthly. Once you're comfortable, increase it to 2%, then more. Build the habit.
Gradually build the savings muscle.
Right. His long-term goal for people, save 10–15% initially, then save 50% of all future pay raises. Do that, he says, and you'll likely join the top 5% financially and never worry about money again. He quotes Einstein on compound interest being the most powerful force.
And gives that example of saving $100 a month.
Yeah, starting at 21, you could be a millionaire by 65 just from that consistent, disciplined saving and compounding.
Incredible power and consistency. Okay, self-discipline and time management. This feels like the engine for everything else.
It really is. He introduces creative abandonment, consciously stopping doing low-value things to free up time for high-impact activities.
Okay.
The key is focusing on consequences.
Consequences.
Yeah. Important tasks have serious potential consequences if you do them well or if you fail to do them. Compare that to low-consequence stuff like coffee breaks, chatting, aimless browsing. Most people spend most time on low-consequence activities.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all are. The discipline is to start your most important task immediately. Doing that creates energy, positivity, boosts self-esteem. You get that endorphin rush when you push through and finish something big.
That feeling of accomplishment, the payoff is continuous.
Yes. Plan well, execute well, feel happier, feel more in control. He states the law of forced efficiency. There's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important things.
So prioritize ruthlessly. He offers key questions.
Yes. Why am I on the payroll? What are my key result areas? What are my most important tasks? What small percentage of my work creates most of my value? And the big one, what's the most valuable use of my time right now? Apply these everywhere: work, family, health. No excuses. It takes constant discipline to beat procrastination. Better time management, greater happiness.
And specific actions. Make lists. Prioritize.
Exactly. List everything. Set priorities. 80-20 rule. Use the ABCDE method. Identify your A1 task and work on it single-mindedly. Focus on the one thing only you can do that makes a difference. Spend most time on the vital 20%. And always ask, most valuable use of my time right now.
Very practical. Let's move to self-discipline and problem solving. Problems are inevitable.
Right. And the natural tendency is to get angry, blame someone. Total waste of energy, Tracy says. Discipline means staying calm, objective, unemotional. Focus on solutions, what can be done now, not on the cause or who's at fault. Think of a car accident. Immediate focus is helping, not arguing about blame.
Practicing, I am responsible.
Yes, immediately. Even if it's just responsible for your response. The reward for solving problems, you get bigger problems to solve. Pay and promotion often track your problem-solving ability. Focus on solutions, generate more solutions, increase your value.
It builds competence, self-efficacy.
Exactly. Feeling competent to solve problems makes you like yourself more, gives you confidence to tackle bigger issues. Problem-solving ability largely determines your achievements. People good at it are highly valued. Success, happiness, leadership, they're all tied to solving problems.
Yeah.
Practicing discipline during problems makes you more effective, earns respect, builds personal power. His first action step: identify your biggest problems today.
Face them head on. Okay, self-discipline and happiness, the ultimate goal for many.
Tracy quotes, "Fosdick growth requires harness, confinement, focus." Discipline isn't the enemy of happiness, it's often the path to it. He says your ability to achieve happiness is the true measure of success, more than money or things.
And he identifies ingredients for happiness, 5 of them.
Yes. Health and energy, number one, often taken for granted. Loving relationships, can't take those for granted either. Meaningful work, feeling engaged, making a difference. Financial independence, freedom from money worries. And goals and ideals, the sense of purpose, direction.
He mentions Maslow's hierarchy.
Right. Safety, security, belonging, self-esteem. But the highest need is self-actualization. Reaching your full potential. Less than 2% reach it, he suggests. But striving towards it, trying to do, be, and have more, that's where happiness lies.
So happiness isn't a state, it's found in the striving.
That's the idea. The happiest people feel they're doing something worthwhile, stretching themselves. Self-actualization needs are never fully met, so it's a continuous source of contentment. His action steps focus on identifying where you are happy and in control, where you aren't, the gaps and unmet needs, then planning how to improve.
Makes sense. Let's cover self-discipline and health, foundational stuff.
Absolutely. He points out many early deaths are linked to lifestyle choices we can control. Cites the Alameda study, 7 Habits for Long Life. Eat regularly, like 5 to 6 light meals, stop 3 hours before sleep. Eat lightly, don't stuff yourself. Don't snack between meals, allow digestion time. Exercise regularly, aim for 200+ minutes a week. Wear a seatbelt, don't smoke, linked to 32 illnesses. Limit alcohol.
Standard advice, but requires discipline to follow consistently. Diet keys.
Lean protein, lots of varied fruits and veggies, plenty of water. Calls it the Olympic diet, boosts alertness. Aerobic exercise is crucial, 30 to 60 minutes, 3+ times a week. Get enough sleep, 8 hours. Take breaks, vacations, and optimism. He calls it the most predictive quality for health and longevity. Stronger immune system.
Optimism again. He tackles weight challenges too.
Yeah, a major self-discipline issue for many. Starvation diets don't work long-term. Messes with metabolism, set point. Better. Create a clear mental image of your ideal weight, then make gradual, permanent changes to eating habits over a year or more. The simple key: eat less and exercise more. Burn more calories than you take in.
Easier said than done. Specific foods to avoid.
The 3 white poisons. Sugar, huge negative impact. Eliminating it can cause rapid initial weight loss. Salt, cut added salt. White flour, low nutritional value. Tells a story of a man losing 22 pounds in 6 months just by cutting these 3 and keeping it off. Goal: highest health and energy through right foods, less food, regular exercise. Action steps involve assessing habits, setting goals, identifying obstacles, seeing benefits, brainstorming ideas, grading yourself, and picking one immediate action.
Very thorough, closely related self-discipline and physical fitness.
No substitute for regular exercise, he says. Aim for 200, 300 minutes a week. 30, 60 minutes, 5, 7 times. Even 30 minutes daily puts you way ahead. 60 minutes, 5 times a week. Top 1, 2% fit.
Best time to exercise.
First thing in the morning.
Right.
For consistency. Postpone it and it often gets skipped. His trick: close by the bed, get the exercise effect, endorphins kick in after 25, 30 minutes, feel great. Morning exercises are often brighter, more creative.
And it encourages healthy eating.
Often does, yes. He suggests joining a gym, hiring a trainer, getting home equipment, but start gradually. Be patient. Action steps mirror this. Decide to be fit. Find enjoyable exercise. Schedule it. Join a gym, hire a trainer, get gear. Start slow. Be patient.
Okay, relationships next. Self-discipline and marriage.
Compatibility is key, he argues. Opposites attract, mainly applies to temperament, balancing each other. You want compatibility elsewhere. Big point. We need love. Everything we do is either to get love or compensate for lack of love. Personality issues can stem from love withheld. Happiness requires fulfilled love needs.
And marriage requires serious discipline.
Tremendous self-discipline, self-control, self-denial, sacrifice. Prioritizing your spouse. He notes communication differences. Men often more focused, single-tasking. Women more multidimensional, picking up subtle cues. Navigating this takes discipline.
Especially listening.
Crucial. For men, he stresses giving full attention when your wife talks, eliminating distractions. Satisfies that deep need to feel valued, respected. Ask clarifying questions. How do you mean? Paraphrase, repeat back in your own words to show you understood. Most problems, poor communication, need balance in talking, listening.
Another disciplines for marriage.
Imagine your spouse is always present. Honesty, faithfulness. See marriage as a work in progress requires flexibility as circumstances change. Kids, careers, health. Use those 4 change questions, do more, less, start, stop, in regular conversations with spouse and kids to maintain harmony. Love and marriage are vital, require lifelong discipline, openness, honesty, seeing your spouse your best friend.
Powerful advice. Now, self-discipline in children.
Bertrand Russell quote.
Okay.
Right discipline is internal habits. Parenting has profound, long consequences, one of the most important things you'll do. Shares a story of a friend realizing golf was stealing time from his kids, reprioritized. Treat kids' mistakes calmly, help them learn. Forget breaking the will, foster self-responsibility.
Every child is different, requires adapting.
Absolutely. Question assumptions, admit mistakes. Most important job, instill values, especially self-discipline. Be a role model, integrity, truthfulness. His family's no punishment for truth, approach worked well, build self-esteem. Think before reacting angrily, your words have lasting impact. Teach values, love, compassion, generosity, patience, courage, etc., through repetition and example. Teach may it. Forgiveness frees kids from future unhappiness.
He mentions apologizing to his own child.
Yes, even when the child misbehaved, he apologized for shouting. Destructive criticism is damaging. Taking it back is powerful. Remember, how you raise them likely shapes them for life. Requires immense parental self-discipline. Raising confident kids is a huge, lasting contribution.
Definitely. What about self-discipline in friendships?
True happiness comes when your self-image aligns. How you see you, how you think others see you, how they actually see you. We seek friends who make us feel comfortable, valued, love, and direct effort. Want something from others. Help them get what they want first. Get out of your own head. Understand them.
Be a friend to have a friend.
Exactly. Like others to be liked. Respect to be respected. Deepest subconscious need. To feel important. Focus on making others feel important. It reinforces their self-image, boosts their self-esteem, makes them feel good about themselves and about you.
The boomerang effect.
Right. Lifting others lifts you. Discipline yourself to focus on liking and being impressed by others, not seeking their approval. Key to great relationships. Make others feel important.
7 ways to do that.
Yes. 1, accept people as they are. 2, express appreciation. Thank you. 3, be agreeable. Nod, smile, don't argue needlessly. 4, pay attention. Make them feel important. 5, listen actively. Ask questions. 6, never criticize, condemn, or complain. Don't lower their self-esteem or gossip. 7, be courteous, concerned, considerate, the 3 C's. Action steps involve spending time with positive people, limiting negative ones, practicing indirect effort, appreciating people, listening, not criticizing, practicing the 3 C's, finding something impressive in everyone, and imagining you're being recorded.
Great practical tips. Finally, self-discipline and peace of mind.
James Allen quote. Improve yourself first, then circumstances follow. Self-mastery is key. For peace with others, detach from differing political religious views, focus on common ground. Remember, blame destroys inner peace. Rehashing past hurts keeps negativity alive. Calmly accept, stuff happens.
And forgiveness is crucial.
Outlaw forgiveness. Mental emotional health depends on forgiving freely. Unhappy people have flat forgiveness curves, hold grudges. Healthy people have downward sloping ones, forgive quickly. Discipline of forgiveness is key to spiritual well-being, peace of mind. It's selfish for your freedom, not condoning their actions. Action steps. Identify stressors you control, practice no blame for a day, forgive someone, detach from a disagreement, see the good in situations.
So, wrapping up this deep dive on no excuses, the core message seems incredibly consistent, doesn't it? Self-discipline, though it takes real effort, is the engine driving success. Happiness, peace of mind, basically everything we want across all these areas.
It really is the common thread. Whether talking personal goals, character, work, money, relationships, it all comes back to that conscious, disciplined choice. The book lays out this roadmap across 21 areas, and we've hit the highlights: success, character, work, business, sales, money, time, problems, happiness, health, fitness, marriage, kids, friends, peace of mind.
And yeah, it definitely requires consistent effort, choosing the harder right over the easier wrong again and again. But the rewards, as Tracy lays them out, seem massive and lasting in every part of life.
Absolutely. It's about taking control through conscious, disciplined choices and building that inner self-mastery to create the life you truly want.
So, a final thought for you listening. Which one area we talked about today really hit home for you? And what single act of increased self-discipline could you implement, maybe starting right now, to begin seeing a positive shift? Definitely worth exploring Tracy's work further and doing some honest self-reflection. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.